Hello, and welcome to the Long Island Local Podcast, brought to you by Audio Workstations here in Bohemia, New York. Let's jump right into the conversation with a Long Island local business owner. All right, I'm going to roll audio.
All right, here we go, video.
Video rolling.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to do my little clap. Whoopoo.
Bingo.
Awesome. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Long Island Local Podcast. Today, I am here with Randy of Egress Pros. Randy, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really excited.
No problem at all. I feel like the first thing we need to do is give the audience a little vocabulary lesson, all right? Because you gave me a test earlier on my vocabulary having to do with the name of your business. So I correctly identified egress as a way to get out, right? Is that correct?
That is 100% true.
Okay.
We specialize in getting out of your basement.
Okay.
Okay? And by the way, there's another word called ingress.
I was going to get to that, actually. Not to be an English class, but because they're opposites. Ingress is coming in, right? Egress is going out.
Correct. But our egress is just as important for ingress.
Okay. That makes sense because, getting in, getting out. If you're trying to get out, someone else might be trying to get in, like a firefighter or something like that.
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo.
So egress is any particular reason why you chose? Because you getting out in an emergency was the top thing you wanted people to think of.
Well, the bottom line is the system is called an egress window system.
Okay.
So my partner and I originally were going to try to come up with a name, like a Google name,
right,
to make it stand out. And we ended up, after going round and round, our campaign was, what is egress? Google egresspros.com. And that is what really changed our business.
Okay. That's memorable and effective.
Right.
All right. So were you always an egress man, or did you come to Egress Pros over time? Tell me the history and the story.
Let me. It's actually. I'll give you the short, long version of the story.
Okay.
So my partner is my best friend. His name is Glenn Dowman. We've been friends for 40 years. His history and his background has always been in contracting. Me, on the other hand, I'm corporate America candy. So our dream of working together never sounded like it was going to happen.
So you had a pretty sweet job before this.
I did.
And you gave it up for this. So
I gave it up to save lives. Yes.
Okay.
Calories for lives.
All right.
So Glenn goes on an estimate. A customer asks him, hey, can you put an egress window in? A GC says, sure. He really didn't understand what an egress was, just like you said to me.
Right.
What is egress? He was in the same situation. Looked into it, figured it out. In the meantime, him and his crew are doing an egress. His son is a volunteer fireman, obviously not at the same time. His son goes into a smoke room, it's called, has a complete panic attack, falls to the ground, comes home and tells Glenn, his father, the story. Mm-hmm. Glenn puts together a basement. His son just lived through this. He says to me, Randy, you got to learn about this egress. This is incredible. We looked at it together, and I said, this is something that I can sink my teeth in. This is really something for both of us. Make a long story short, Glenn started in his basement. I was whispering things in his ear on the business side, marketing side. He was pounding the pavement, building his ability to put it together, really do egress, learning the codes and so forth. Started out maybe doing 1 a week, 2 a week, 1 a day. Fast forward, here we are today. I'm full-time into this with him. We're located in West Babylon doing 5 egress windows a day,
wow,
6 days a week, and we also do 2 to 3 basement walkouts to stairs a week.
Okay, wow. So essentially this started as one request as a part of just a general contracting job, and it just happened to be that this customer knew enough to ask for it.
Correct.
But I imagine that not enough people know to ask for it when they're just getting general work done or whatever. So I think the genius of what you're doing is putting the idea specifically in people's heads that this is something that you should have if you don't already.
That is 100% true. I also believe, look, if you do egress, I would prefer you do it with Egress Pros.
Sure.
But put egress in your house if you're in the basement for any reason whatsoever. But we looked at egress, and I'll explain why. It's like, if you should have an issue with your knee, you don't go to your general practitioner. You're going to go to an orthopedist. You go to a specialist. Egress, I'm going to say, is same thing. We're specialists. The code has certain bylines, which I'm happy to go over with you, and we've improved those codes. So we're beyond the code to ensure the window is going to work when it's supposed to work. And egress is about speed, and our windows are fast. You get out fast.
Okay. So if you have a basement and there is no quick way out of that basement, it is essentially a problem waiting to happen. And there's a lot of basements here on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And what percentage of the existing homes on Long Island do you think are actually currently equipped with a proper egress?
I'm going to tell you probably on Long Island from firefighters we spoke to and people we spoke to in the building department. I'm going to tell you probably less than 5% of the people have safe underground living space. Now keep in mind that word living space. If you're in your basement doing laundry, which is probably one of the most dangerous things you can do in your basement, you should have egress down there.
Yeah.
Most people don't. If you have a generational family, multiple generations living in a family,
Yeah.
most of them don't have egress. They're just in the basement. I say quite often, I compare it to driving on the LIE without a seatbelt.
Yep.
You wouldn't do it. You know better. You know how dangerous it is to drive on the road without a seatbelt because an accident can happen. Well, an accident can happen in your basement. It doesn't have to be a fire.
Right. Well, certainly flooding is an issue with Long Island basements with our water table. That's a very low number that you just estimated.
It's a scary number.
Yeah.
It's a scary number not only for me to say to you, but it's a scary number if you're a firefighter or a first responder because they're in jeopardy as well. I spoke to a firefighter recently that told me to this day, he's 20 years on the job. He's a volunteer on Long Island. To this day, he says when he hears a basement fire, the hair on his neck stands up. It's the scariest. He's what they call an interior. He's one of the firefighters that would go in. And it's scary. It is scary for them. You know, Long Island, for example, most of our houses are 50, 60 years old.
Yep.
Your basement stairs are made out of pine. They're dry. They can go right up. A lot of us have cobwebs and dust in our basement. That's what we call, or firemen really call, kindling wood.
Yeah.
So your basement, if it's not properly maintained or if you're using it, you need to know you have 2 exits from every room. And a room, I'm not saying a bedroom. I'm saying you have a den, just a den, you're watching TV, and on the other side you have your unfinished basement. Your unfinished basement is fine. It's that den area where you're sitting watching TV. You need a window or a walkout plus your staircase going upstairs. Then you're safe and secure.
Okay, so that's the rule of thumb is two ways to
Two forms of egress.
Yes, and it's not that dissimilar to digital data having it backed up in 2 places as a rule of thumb, right? You can't just have one thing that you're relying on. You want at least one backup beyond that thing that you're relying on.
And you know what's interesting to us, to me, now that I really understand, number one, how important it is. Sitting in my seat, we hear horrible stories, and we'll pass on those you can imagine. But it's not an expensive application.
Okay.
It's a 1-day install. On average, an egress window is about $6,000.
Okay.
But what you've done is, number one, your family is safe. You have peace of mind. Your first responders is safe. You have fresh air and sunshine in your basement.
Yeah, that's a rare thing.
That's pretty rare. And I've increased the value of your home because that living space is now legal square footage that can be added to the value of your home.
Right.
So, and because everything we install to code. So once you get your permit, you are good to go and sell your house. Now you've made a profit.
Yeah.
So the return on investment's there.
Sure, it's a significant upgrade.
Yeah.
And even though it's obviously not good that it's such a small percentage of people who currently have this, at least there's an open market space for you to bring these to people. And you know that if you're talking to someone who's maybe a potential customer, the chances of them actually still needing one are pretty high.
It's amazing. You're right. And thank God our people listening to us,
Yeah.
people listening to firefighters. I mean, we donated an egress training system to the Nassau and Suffolk fire academies so that our first responders can practice in real life.
Right.
So we patented this training system. But in speaking to the chiefs and the trainers at the academies, they've told us that they've worked this into their everyday training.
Just the awareness of how to proceed should they come upon one.
Should they come upon one?
Okay.
And the opportunity to save lives
Yeah.
increases so much.
And you would think also, and maybe this is already happening, but that the fire districts themselves would want to maybe inform their local residents that this is an option for people who don't know.
Well, yes, and thankfully, October's Fire Safety Month, and we put displays of egress in many firehouses throughout Nassau and Suffolk County.
Great.
If they invite us, we'll come.
Yeah.
We love talking about egress. We love educating the public on egress. One thing that we would love for the firefighter and firehouses to do is put on their message boards. Like they remind us to check our batteries.
Sure.
On our smoke detectors, they remind us, is your baby child seated correctly? Hey, remind us how important it is to have egress.
Yes.
People listen to the fire department.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something we're working on. Where and we've had some great, and all firefighters are fantastic, but we've had some great assistance from a few firehouses on Long Island where they've put that on their signs, and
Yeah.
I think it makes people wonder, what is egress?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've probably heard the term in passing, but like specifically, for a big community here on Long Island with there's a lot of basements. There's a lot of basements.
I'll tell you, Long Island's expensive.
Yeah.
We were talking about it before.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
I joke that it's the secret bagel and pizza quality tax that nobody lets you know about.
But you know what's funny? I do pay the tax, and it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
It's the main benefit.
But it is. But it's crazy. We know how expensive it is to live on Long Island. We're using every inch of our homes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we live in the Carolinas and you don't need that gigantic basement. Here, you need it.
Yeah.
You need it. You're going to use it. If you're doing it, do it right.
Yeah.
Know that you're safe. Know that your house is safe. Know that our first responders are safe. Accidents happen. Yesterday in Queens, there was a fire in a basement. 18 children in a basement. Oof. 18 children. One was, all of them minor injuries. One, I believe, is I don't want to say critical, but
Right.
is in the hospital. It's unheard of. No egress. So you stick your head in the sand and let's pretend,
Right.
or do something about it.
Yeah.
It
It seems as important as, let's say, fire escape is to city life. It seems like the perfect parallel.
It's the perfect parallel. My partner Glenn and I say to each other, we look at each other sometimes dumbfounded when our sales reps, I shouldn't call them sales reps, we call them pros. Why do we
Right.
call them pros? We're there to teach you the code.
Right.
You understand egress, we'll answer your questions, but we're not selling you. We're just telling you the best place to put it.
There's an educational
It's
aspect.
an educational aspect. I always say if you're gonna meet with one of our pros, we need an hour.
Yeah.
Of your time at your home to show you the right location, help you pick the right window, size and so forth. But it's such an important aspect of redoing your home. And as a parent, you're checking your kid's seatbelt before you put him in the car, right? You're making sure before you give him a grape, you cut it up, or a hot dog.
Yeah.
Put the egress window in the basement.
Before you let him play 5
Before
hours
you-
of video games.
Exactly. Before you let him do that, before you have this sleepover.
Yeah. Yes.
Before you let your kids sleep over someone else's house, are they going to be in the basement? Do they
Right.
have a second way out? Horror stories
Yep.
when you don't ask that question.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, listen, it seems like a big change from candy.
You know what? I got to tell you, it is a big change. I love candy.
Yes.
I love the candy industry. I miss it. But I put my head down on the pillow just a little different.
Yep.
When I sleep at night, I know I did something. I was doing something great with candy, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. But now I'm doing something great. and I'm saving lives.
Yes. Before you were supporting dentists.
I was going to say, all of a sudden, I get dentist bills now. I used to get my teeth cleaned for 34 years. I got everything cleaned for free. But my kids, I think my kids are most disappointed that I'm out of the candy industry.
Yeah. Well, listen, safety is, a lot more of a valuable thing than candy. And,
Some would say.
Yeah, some would say. Listen, if you're not safe, you can't eat the candy.
Right.
So you have to be alive and well for you to enjoy the candy. So I think your priorities have realigned in a nice way.
I appreciate that. I'll tell you something else that we did, if you don't mind.
Please.
I learned walking in and out of people's homes and talking about basements, how little I knew and how little most people know of how dangerous a basement is.
Yeah.
Or your home is, actually. I was at a tree burn recently. I had the pleasure of watching it live. Scariest thing at Christmas time,
Okay.
showing you how quickly a tree. It's scary as could be.
So this was like a
It
demonstration.
was a demonstration at the Nassau County Fire Academy.
I see.
Scary as could be. So what I did, I just started on Facebook a group. I'm just under 100 members called Home Safety with Randy. And what I'm talking about, it's not about egress. It's about safety. It's about what I'm learning speaking to firefighters, fire marshals, home inspectors,
Right.
people who have gone through a fire, insurance companies. I've learned an incredible amount, and I want to share that with people so that they are enjoying their egress window for sunshine and fresh air, never
Yeah.
using it to get out.
Well, listen, egress is one super important aspect of safety, but it's a larger topic, and you find once you start to appreciate the safety aspect of one thing, then you start seeing the, preventative measure safety creeping into everything it's like the power of suggestion.
It is.
It's like, now that I know this one thing is safer, how can
I
I
better
make
look around.
everything a little bit safer? And you start looking at the world through a different lens with your new knowledge and awareness.
Which is super important.
Yeah.
And you would be amazed how easy a lot of these home fires are to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
They truly are. And with some education and check out, Home Safety with Randy.
Yeah, Facebook
on
group.
Facebook.
Yeah.
You'll check it out, and you'll hopefully learn something that'll not only change your life, will save your life.
Yeah, and it's almost like people who have a lot of prep for emergency. It's like you start looking at everything through the lens of what if the next hurricane leaves me without power,
Right.
and it's like, oh, I could really use that 20 bags of Cheez-Its,
Yeah, let's not wait for the next hurricane. Although we should always have 20 bags of Cheez-Its around.
Yes.
But you're right, being proactive
Right.
as opposed to waiting for the next Sandy. Let's be proactive.
And that same subset of people who are prepping, they should, if they haven't already thought about this type of thing, include that. Because what are you storing 20 bags of Cheez-Its in your basement for if it's going to go up in flames and you can't, get out
True.
in time?
I'll tell you something. We were speaking at a museum, like a children's museum.
Okay.
And a mom asked, she said, we practice our escape plan. That's very important.
Yeah.
Everybody should have an escape plan. But my partner came up with was right, because they said in the basement, how do you escape if the stairs are on fire?
Sure.
And, everybody looked at us. And we always say to people, the most important part of an escape plan is a way out.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless if you're upstairs in your bedroom or downstairs in your basement, if you have an escape plan, that's great. Make sure you have a way out.
Yes.
It's key.
Yeah.
So to your point, put this on your list. You got to get out.
Yeah. It
So-
seems like priority number one for safety with basements. I mean, I've been, living on Long Island for the majority of my life. I've done a lot of stuff in basements. Band rehearsals, and I had before I had a nice physical commercial studio to work out
were in
of.
a basement.
I was in a basement, and there was, maybe could have been more egress in that
Yeah.
basement.
Well, now we know. We didn't know back then. We didn't wear seatbelts. You were in the car. Everybody was smoking cigarettes.
Right.
We learn, and you got to learn from experience. But if you don't use that experience, you're not learning.
Okay.
So we've learned basements are dangerous. When I remember graduating from middle school, going to high school, I was so excited. My dad let me move into the basement.
Uh-huh.
In the end, I think he was trying to kill me. But you get what I'm saying. We're smarter.
Yeah.
Now I have that same situation going on where the parents calling me, but why do you need an egress? My son wants to move into the basement. There's no chance I'm putting him in the basement without an egress.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Right.
Wow. Okay. So, did we mention what year you guys started it? I don't know if we mentioned it.
So we started about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And, we're running strong, having fun, saving lives.
That's awesome. And so, is it just the two of you as partners, or?
Yeah, so Glenn and I are there every day. We have 3 pros in the field every day. We have an operation manager, and we have our crews.
And where's you have a physical office?
We're in West Babylon.
Okay.
We have a showroom that's open Monday through Friday. Sounds like a cheap little plug. Monday through Friday.
No, it makes sense. So people can come in and physically see what it would be
They
like.
can touch the window. They can see how amazing it is. I mean, people say to us all the time, I could get this window in my basement.
Yeah.
And we're like, yes, this is your basement. And regardless of how big the window is, 48 slider, which is beautiful, or a casement window. Let me tell you real quick what makes our windows different.
Sure.
You know what a casement window is?
No.
So a casement window is a solid piece of glass that has the crank on it. You know that window.
Sure.
So if you and I were sitting in your kitchen right now and I asked you to open that window just to get some fresh air, how long do you think it would take for you to crank that window?
Probably like 30 seconds, something like that.
Hopefully longer. I think 30 seconds is in your head.
Yeah.
I think first, if the crank did work,
Yeah.
we always call those windows cranky.
Yeah, they
not
are.
crank windows. So our windows that we put in your basement are casement windows, but they don't open out. They open into the room.
Okay.
There's no crank on them.
just pull on
you
them?
pull them into the room. And the screen is a slider screen, like a sliding door.
Okay.
Again, Egress is all about speed.
Yep.
We want to get you out quickly. And if you want to open our casement window for fresh air, you can tilt the top, not turn the whole window in.
Great.
So it's awesome, And then we have slider windows. We have double open windows.
Yeah.
Just a tremendous choice of windows. All code compliant, all beyond code.
Awesome.
They're all bigger.
Basements need more fresh air. I'm for that.
Yes.
I've tried to freshen up musty smelling basements quite a few times in my life.
We'll help you with that. You open a window. You'll be fine. Get a little sunshine down there. It's amazing.
It's multifunctional. Save your life and freshen the air.
Exactly.
All right, awesome. So we're in West Bab, and people can come in and just check out these windows Monday through Friday. That's really helpful.
They can come in Monday through Friday. I'll tell you what. Or you can give us a call, and we're happy to come to your home. It's completely free for us to come in. We'll educate you,
That's
show you
nice.
the windows, help guide you towards what would be the best for your lifestyle and your budget.
All right, that sounds great. And listen, I was not quite as acutely aware a few hours ago as I am now about the safetiness.
See, now you'll remember when you buy a house.
Yep.
Remember Egress Pros. You mind if I give my phone number?
Oh, please. And you can give it now, and we're also going to have you pop next door in our little green screen room, and we'll give you an official 30-second ad spot in there.
516-224-7576 and egresspros.com.
Awesome. Perfect. I learned a lot about basements, and I am going to be looking around a little bit more carefully when I walk into a basement.
You know what I'm
going
going to teach you next time you have me on? I'm going to show you how fire extinguishers have changed.
Okay.
Unbelievable change in fire extinguishers. I'll give you a teaser.
Go ahead.
All right. So we all have a traditional fire extinguisher. You know what they look like. You probably have one in your garage or under your kitchen
I got one in my basement to prevent incidents with incense.
Right. There you go. There you go. So that incident, God forbid, that would happen with incense with you downstairs.
Right.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's called a proactive fire.
Right.
You need to be there and proactively pick up that fire extinguisher and point it at the flame.
Yes.
God willing, you put it out, and that's the end of that. But what about if you're on vacation?
Yeah.
What if you're sleeping and your boiler catches on fire? So what we have sourced is something called an extinguisher ball that we mount above any area in your home that you think is a danger point, an overloaded outlet,
That's smart.
an instant. And the change in temperature does not activate the ball.
Okay.
What activates the ball is the flame. When the flame hits it, within 3 or 4 seconds, the ball is activated, and it coats the fire with the powder. Same that's in the extinguisher, has a 5-year shelf life on it. And I'll tell you, we have one that's small enough that you can put on your live Christmas tree.
Wow.
And
That's really smart.
So I will do that
Yeah.
next time. I'll tell you about that.
No, I'd like to learn about that separate product next time. That sounds great and really clever, actually.
Important.
Awesome. All right, Randy, thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
This went so fast. I learned a lot. I want to thank the audience for listening, and thank you, Randy, for coming and telling me about Egress Pros.
Thank you for having me. And remember, Egress saves lives.
It absolutely does. And don't get trapped in a basement, ladies and gentlemen. Give Randy a call instead.
Right.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next time. We'll wave bye to everyone.
Bye. Oh, bye. I was waving the wrong way. Hi, this is Randy from Egress Pros, located at 21A Edison Avenue in West Babylon, 516-224-7576, egresspros.com. We install code-compliant egress window systems and basement walkouts in one day. Don't wait. Egress saves lives.